50-point game for Steph Curry squandered. Warriors have yet to win on the road. They are 0-8. Overall record falls to 6-9. Welcome to Dubs Talk Live, presented by FitAid with our Warriors insider Monte Poole. I'm Kerith Burke. We're talking about the 50 points for Steph Curry, the 11th time he's reached 50 in his career, and the Warriors got blown out in this game. The bench has been a trouble spot. I'm looking at the box score. 6 made field goals total for the bench, 17 total points for the bench. A lot of places you can point. The bench has been tough, but how do the Warriors get Steph Curry some help?
You know, it really begins, to me, it begins with the defense. I know the offense has been fits and starts, but the starting lineup has been okay with the offensive end of the basketball. But defensively, they keep rolling out there and giving up 35 and 40-point quarters. And you can't win basketball games like that. I mean, Steph Curry had 50 points tonight. His teammates had 69, but the Suns had 130. They had 72 in the first half. I mean, they pretty much had the game. Despite the Warriors had an early lead, the Suns pretty much had this game all the way because the Warriors could not defend well enough to stop them. They were getting open shots. And when teams get open shots, they usually make them. So the Warriors were not running their offense. It was a wreck of a game, I thought. And Steph, again, is looking over his shoulder and not seeing much.
Yeah.
It's hard to win that way.
Well, imagine if Steph ever publicly aired out some frustration. He's at the podium right now. We should hear from him. Here's Steph.
I mean, we need to figure out what it's going to take to win and what everybody needs to do differently, more consistently. The level of focus and intensity that will hopefully, prove to show in wins, no matter what the stat sheet looks like, no matter how we get it done, because nobody likes this feeling at all. I mean, forget the road record. It's just you can't find a sustainable period of success where, habits start to form and, we're in a position where we're coming off the court feeling good about ourselves. We're still searching and chasing a little bit.
You also took a lot of this saying, I failed. I've got to figure out how to get these guys together. And I know it's not about pointing fingers, but I mean, I guess where does it fall? What do you as the players and you as a leader, like how do you guys navigate all of this?
I mean, we got to be honest with ourselves. It starts individually, like everybody coming in, the right mindset of what they feel like will impact winning on both ends of the floor. And then collectively, there's certain parts through our games where we kind of just get scattered, where we can't get stops, might be taking bad shots, turnovers, whatever the case is, and you lose momentum. And then that leads to teams, playing kind of out of their minds against us, more nights than not, where they make 21 threes, shoot 50%, above 50% for three, and they don't feel us at all. So that's tough on the road. That's why we're 0-8, because we haven't really, made our presence felt and had a mindfulness about how we're trying to win, knowing that the other team gets paid just like we do.
Yeah, I know you have different parts from last year, but what happens that in June you play a great final series and beat Boston, and now months later you're trying to find yourself again?
It's the challenge of what this league requires year after year to be great. Like we haven't, when everybody's been healthy, we haven't had really some like rough patches, this long where you haven't found anything to kind of create an identity around, 15 games in. Our starting lineup, obviously, been together for a while and understand how to play. We've had some decent moments. We have guys that they're trying to fill roles. We have five guys that play significant minutes throughout the season, throughout the playoff run that are not here. And we have guys that have great opportunity to step into those roles, and we still have a lot of confidence that we can get there. And then our starting unit, we also know like we haven't been perfect, so we have to, obviously be honest with ourselves about that too, because the record kind of speaks for itself.
Is it frustrating for you? I mean, you come in, drop 50 points, 31 in the first half, you're doing what you can, but you're not watching the whole thing.
I mean, I played a game a certain way with a certain aggressiveness to go out and obviously try to do my part, and put a lot of pressure on the other team to worry about me, to worry about the shots that I can help create. And on the defensive end, try to do my job. There's parts where in the flow of the game where I miss a box out or something like that, and it just feeds into everything else that we're struggling with, like the details of the game. So yeah, I've scoring great, trying to be efficient. I'm gonna keep doing that. But there's a collective kind of mindset around how I need to help everybody kind of get in the right frame of mind to help, to win. And I'm ready for that challenge to try to figure that out.
It's kind of a chicken and egg thing when you're losing games, but how do you find that joy early on, like even early on, and like if you guys are scouting a little bit, continue it, and kind of like ride that roller coaster throughout the game?
I think just put the focus on the team, or whatever that really means for everybody, because we're all built differently. We all see the game differently, but if your energy can be focused on the team and having each other's back, whether it's vocally, whether it's with your energy, your body language, whatever the sacrifice might look like out on the court when you're out there in your minutes, that usually creates good vibes, and that usually you can feed off of that to kind of get yourself out of a hole. You can't obsess about the stat sheet and what it looks like, because that's not how the game is played. You can't kind of will yourself into whatever that night you might want if you're not really focused on winning.
You've never been in that position before, but do you think being a new guy or a young guy with a bigger role, under a defending champions, the expectations kind of adds a little more pressure, makes you press a little harder?
Possibly, but if you don't want that, you're not excited about the opportunity, what that means, and what we could be playing for, come April, May, and June. That's what it's about. So embrace it, and we all have to do it collectively. Like there's nothing else that really matters when it comes to us playing the way we want to play.
There's collective belief and confidence in play that the shot will fall eventually. Steve talked a little bit about taking quick shots instead of maybe looking for a pass to an open player. How do you, as like a leader and somebody that's played with him for so long, how do you guys talk to him throughout this early rough start, and maybe hold some type of accountability and looking to pass instead of two?
It's a tough balance of trusting him to do exactly what he is capable of doing, what we know he's capable of doing. Being himself in the sense of, Klay Thompson shots have always been, ones that you wouldn't tell anybody else to really take because of his skill set and the work that he puts in. And he's had, slow starts before in seasons, but the biggest thing is, again, I tell JP this, tell Klay this, tell myself this, like you have to let the game come to you. And especially when teams know if you start get going, like we're tough to beat, and they're probably going to have the heightened sense of awareness early in games, early in quarters when you're out there to try to take it away, because they're afraid of what Pete Klay looks like. So just let the game come to you. Have some a little bit of patience and trust in how we play as a team and creating good shots. His presence out there changes the game just with his 2 feet on the floor because, he requires a lot of attention no matter what the numbers look like. So it's going to come. Just trust it.
How would you just assess the chemistry and camaraderie of this group right now in all aspects?
I mean, we're still new to each other in terms of, 1 through 14, but I don't know. I like the energy around when we come into games. I like the focus in terms of, we're saying all the right things and talking about all the right things. Just the execution hasn't been there. And then it's like you can go 2, 3, 4 games in a row with, a winning streak and that carries over. It's always kind of get hit in the mouth a little bit. So, it's a struggle right now. Let's keep it real. We have to, understand it's going to be really hard to dig yourself out of the situation that we're in because there's a lot of issues. But it's not anything we can't overcome.
So we saw a little bit of frustration from Steph in this game, a technical kind of volleyball serve. It was on a no call, I believe. But even listening to the questions that Steph is getting and his responses, you can still see that the most he'll say is, we are struggling right now. He's getting questions about Clay. He's getting questions about Jordan and some of the guys who are surrounding him. But it's always we. He models positivity. Okay.
That's what a good leader does.
Yes, that's true. So Steph led the game, 50 points, led in rebounding with 9. That's interesting to me. Led in minutes played with 36. He played the whole first quarter. The Warriors wanted to win this game. They wanted a quick start. He raced to 31 points. He gave it his all tonight. How do they get more from the other guys?
Well, I think Clay has to understand when his shot's not going, he has to find other ways to help the team. And right now it looks like he's only trying to help them with shooting and defense. And his defense effort has been pretty good. It's not always effective, but his effort level has been pretty good. But the shots that he takes, and they can talk around it if they want to, but he knows he takes 3 or 4 bad shots a game. When Clay is making those shots, they're not bad shots. But right now, for most of the season, he's been missing those shots. And that gives the offense, puts some pressure on the Warriors defense because the other team is now going the other way. So long rebounds and they're off to the races. And Jordan just has to find it within his head that he's not going to start. If he's worried about starting out, I'm not saying that that's the case, but if he's worried about starting, that's not going to happen. He has to go out there and, as he says, play his game, play my game, do that whether he's starting or coming off the bench. And tonight, he took 5 shots in 16 minutes, missed all of them. And so the bench will never be good without Jordan being at least decent. And if he's really good, the bench can be really good. So you can't, the bench is always going to struggle if he does, and tonight he did.
Well, there's almost an opportunity for ownership of the bench. Remember, heading into the season, we were talking about how Jordan Poole should be a strong candidate for 6th man of the year.
Correct.
But he hasn't really seized that moment yet. So we'll talk about what are the things going on around Jordan. We definitely need to talk about Klay Thompson more. And when Dubs Talk Live, presented by FitAid, returns, we're going to hear some of the messages that Steve Kerr had after this game. We'll be right back.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by FitAid, the #1 post-workout recovery drink in America. Try now and visit drinkfitaid.com.
What's up, YouTube? I just got through all the ads that start there. Cheryl Sampson, we're coming up firing. She says we're wasting Curry, and there's a crying emoji. And I think that is a fear within the front office or the fan base or wherever, that we only have Steph Curry's prime for so long.
Yeah.
We've been talking about his prime now for, what, since he turned 30? Like nothing gold can stay. Like guys age, there's more on their legs, especially when he has to lead every game in scoring this season except one.
Yeah.
Except one.
Right.
Poole did against the Spurs, but that was a game where the Warriors got to beat up on an inferior opponent.
Right. Steph is, when they committed to this 2-timeline deal where they have the veterans over here and they have the teenagers over here, when you draft 5 teenagers in your last 3 drafts, you're saying we're going to try to rebuild while also being great. It doesn't work.
Very difficult.
And when you see other teams coming in and drafting, even after them in some cases, guys that are already ready to play.
Yeah.
And so and the Warriors said, no, we're going to do it different. We're going to beef up our development staff, bring in the teenagers because we think they have high upsides, and try and get those guys to become the same kind of players we had when we bought this team back in 2010.
Now, hold on. Nothing can happen without Steph saying, hey, this is okay. I mean, to some degree, he's got to be like, okay, we know that there needs to be a youth movement coming. I think we can balance it. Was that a little naive? Was this Steph being too optimistic?
I think Steph is consulted on these things, but
Yeah.
he doesn't make the final decision.
It's true.
He gives him his input.
Yeah.
But I can't say that he's got to be pleased with the way things are going. I'm sure he's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome back to Dubstock Live, presented by FitAid. We've got some new music on the show. It's feeling aggressive tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, so Monte, when we were sitting next to each other in the newsroom kind of planning our show, both of us were wondering, how would Steve Kerr come out after this game? And I noticed he was on the podium like this, but this wasn't really a fiery Steve Kerr post-game. It was a very serious Steve Kerr post-game. What do you take away from the messages he's trying to send his team?
I felt that was a fury beneath his composure.
Okay.
Because, when you say things like pickup ball, Drew League, and bad shots, no defense, we're not doing this, we're not connected, it's a damning indictment of your team right now. And he's saying it begins with me. I'm not getting these guys to do these things because, let's face it, this is not the first time or the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth time this season that we've talked about these issues.
The same things. Yeah.
Yes, and it has not gotten any better. I mean, beating San Antonio the other night, people thought, oh, wow, okay, maybe they're... No, what happened against the Spurs the other night was that Jordan Poole decided he was going to play from the opening tip.
As a starter?
Did. Yes, and he did. He played great. And at that point, the bench played great behind him. Amazing how that works. And when the bench came in with him, he played with starters and with the bench, and in both units he did well and they did well. Yeah. But the defense has been an ongoing issue. Yeah. There's been so many games where they're giving up so many points, and tonight the number of open shots they gave up was astonishing. And they're giving up, and these are attention to detail things. You got two guys on that Suns team. Mikal Bridges is one guy, and Torrey Craig's the other guy. These guys can really make one shot.
Okay.
The corner three.
And they got him over and over.
Open and
over
open
again.
and open.
Yeah.
And so the old thing in basketball is know your personnel. KYP, know who that guy is. If this guy can only make that shot, don't give it to him. And yet, repeatedly, you saw these guys getting free and just tossing in these shots. They're going in because that's the shot they make.
Yeah, Suns were shorthanded tonight. There was a career high for Payne. It just didn't feel well. Okay, so
listen, 2 starters and 2 more rotation players.
There you go. All right, so how did Steve Kerr view this? Take a listen to what he had to say.
Yeah, I think if when you come down and you don't make a team guard and you just shoot the first open shot, guys aren't tired at all. They're not having to fight defensively, so everybody comes down and they're feeling good. I didn't even have to guard at the other end. Now I'm wide open. They're playing in transition, a lot of long rebounds leading to transition, so you're out of place defensively. So there's no collective grit. We lack grit right now. And when you don't have grit, the game is really easy for the other team. These are NBA players. They spend all summer shooting thousands of jump shots just like our guys do. And so when those jumpers are easy and the game is easy and they don't feel any physicality, it's a Drew League game. We're playing a Drew League game right now.
Monte, help translate that. What does a Drew League game mean? You're
not worried about defense at all. You're not worried about fundamentals at all. You're not worried about teamwork at all. You're worried about going out there and having fun.
Like, is it showboating?
There's a lot of that.
Okay.
You know, guys getting in their bag. You know, let me show, because the Drew League is all about getting oohs and ahs, and so it's about guys wanting to get theirs. Get theirs.
So he's not talking about Steph here.
No. He's talking about
yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
It's about guys wanting to get theirs and not really concerned about what it's going to take to win a game as a group.
Individual basketball,
Yeah.
which you can't do as a
Yeah.
team. They
No.
lack
Yeah.
grit.
You can do it, but you won't win.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there were some other comments from Steve too. Like, nobody is huddling the guys on the floor. Nobody. So it's like, what is the soul of the team? Usually that's Draymond, I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, when he says that we don't have any grit, I mean, Draymond has made a career of being a gritty player. He is the king grit guy.
King grit guy.
But
Yeah.
last year, he had a lot of disciples. Juan Toscano-Anderson,
That's right.
gritty.
Yeah.
Gary Payton II, gritty.
Yeah.
Damian Lee,
Yeah.
gritty.
Well, we're talking about guys who make the hustle plays, who
Yes,
dive on the floor.
yes.
JTA split his head open
Yes.
one time.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. And
yeah.
so the young guys that the Warriors have brought in over the last 3 drafts, I mean, who is the gritty? We can't really count guys like Baldwin and Rollins yet. We haven't seen them much. But, you know, Kuminga, Moody, and Wiseman, who's the grit guy?
The grittiest guy might be Looney right now.
Probably.
I mean, but
Of those three.
Draymond too. He started
Yeah.
the season with a lot of energy.
Well, I mean, yeah, but Draymond's grit is not consistent like it usually is. And again, you know, we don't know how often he can bring that grit every single night. Last year, there were times he brought it.
Yeah.
There were nights he didn't have it. And so, but last year, again, if the Warriors were not playing hard on defense, Steve Kerr could stick Juan Toscano-Anderson out there.
Yep.
And he would turn it up.
Yep.
And sometimes other guys would get into it.
Yep. Or Juan would come out and give 3 or 4 fouls
Yeah,
just because he
whatever.
could.
Yes,
Yeah.
whatever. And so,
Yeah.
but right now, I mean, that's the grit. You know, Damian Lee could make a shot. He would defend hard. He played hard,
Yeah.
you know. And so
Yeah.
right now, that's missing. You don't have guys coming out there playing hungry a lot, you know. And when they do play hungry, it seems to be playing hungry for themselves, not playing hungry in order to wait in a way that will give the team the kind of clout it needs to win a game.
Yeah, hungry on one side of the ball as well. So, okay, the Warriors
Thirsty.
0-8 on the road. That is bad, Monte. Okay, the Warriors are one of 4 teams, but the Warriors are the defending champs. They're starting 5. They have their foundational 6. All of those players are the same. This is surprising. I feel surprised by this. Detroit, not a good team. Orlando, not a good team. Lakers, not a good team. And now you're looking at the Warriors thinking, are they a good team? This has not been a good start. It's only 15 games in, but the fact that we keep revisiting the same trouble spots, the same themes over and over, this is getting very concerning.
I said on Sunday that the Kings are a better team than the Warriors right now. And I think, you know, but they are. They are. I'm not saying it's going to be, it may not be that way a month from now or 2 months from now, but right now, the Kings, you watch them play and you watch the Warriors play, and it's almost like they're playing a different game. There's Steph and a bunch of guys out there with him. With the Kings, you see a certain cohesion. And so, I mean, I make that comparison because we're not used to that. Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah,
you know?
for years and years. And hey,
Yes.
credit to the Kings in that victory game. It's a great story.
It's fine. But the Warriors have not played the kind of basketball that got them those championships. They haven't done it at all this season. And people like to talk about their three-point shooting, but defense was always their backbone. And that starts with Draymond, and he doesn't have a lot of help right now either. It's he and Loon.
Yeah. All right. When we come back on Dubstock Live, presented by Fit Aid, I promised you guys a Clay conversation, a Jordan Poole conversation. I don't know if we can fit it all in.
We'll give it a shot.
Some of it we'll get to on the podcast, but we'll do our best. All right. I love this. People following our analysis. 6 and 9 is very bad. Yes, I agree.
0-8 is worse.
Oh, man.
You can't win on the road if you don't play defense, though. That's the first order of winning a road game
Yeah.
is play defense.
Yeah.
You got to go into a place and try and take their souls, as we say, or take their hearts, take their will.
Yeah.
They're not doing that.
No, I mean, I looked at this one lead change in the game. Usually that's like a flip-flop of buckets in the first couple shots, 3 times tied. Every time I looked at the screen, the Warriors were maybe down by 10, and we're sort of like, is this still within reach? Maybe if the team played defense. I mean, Dante stepped in. He took 2 threes back to back. And you're like, oh, some momentum. And then on the other end, I think there was like a dunk. And it's like, God, just the back and forth track beat kind of feel of the games lately is not, the Warriors are not going to win. Their opponents are scoring.
It's harder to beat a team when you give them 26 points off turnovers.
Yeah.
When they out-rebound you.
Yeah.
And when they get 16 second chance points to your 5.
Yeah.
It's just hard to win, and they shoot 52% from 3.
Yeah. Okay. There's no way we can talk about Clay Poole. What's the full screen coming up again, please?
We can try. We won't keep it short.
Okay. And I was supposed to talk about when might the Warriors get their first road win, and I'm sorry I didn't do that. So
when might that happen? Houston, maybe.
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 I mean, you thought maybe it would be against the Magic.
Yeah.
And they were 1-7 at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live. Take a look at this. Worst starts by a defending champ through 15 games. I mean, I'm looking at it. 6-9 is not great, but man, Chicago and Boston 4-11. Oh, okay. Those were years and years ago, decades ago.
Yep.
This is not what I think a lot of people predicted with the Warriors. Again, having the same starting 5, even the 6th man, Jordan Poole. And kind of, Monte, it leads to the question, when might the Warriors get their first road win? They're 0-8 right now. What do you see?
Well, I mean, they've lost to some good teams. They've lost to some bad teams on the road. I mean, they lost to Charlotte, Detroit, and then to Orlando on the road.
Yeah, 1-7, the Magic were at the time.
Those are teams that they know they should beat.
Yeah.
That most teams go in there and beat them on their own court. So I guess you would say Houston, which is, another rebuilding team that has some talent, but they're young and they're rebuilding. But the way the Warriors have been playing on the road, they could lose that game too.
Yeah,
just the way
don't
they're
count
playing.
your W's before they're in hand.
No, you cannot with this team right now.
The Rockets beat the Mavericks tonight. No Luka in that game, but the Rockets want to be scrappy, and they're 3-12 right now. I did not do my duties very well. I promised you a Clay conversation and a Jordan conversation. We will get to those on the podcast. But final thoughts, how do you think Steph Curry is going to take this plane ride home after scoring a 50-burger and not getting the win?
I think he and Draymond and Clay and Andre need to have another meeting. I think they've had one, maybe more, but I think they need to get together and just talk it out.
Okay.
Because this team cannot fix itself until they set sort of boundaries for themselves and everybody else on this team.
So players talking to players, one of those player-only meetings?
Yeah, I don't think this is a coach thing. I think this has got to be for the players right now.
All right. All right. The Warriors reeling again. Did not get their revenge game against the Suns. They are 6-9, no wins on the road. We'll see you on the podcast shortly. Ooh, we have a comment that says, I believe Iggy can heal this situation, but I don't think he's available every game.
No,
so the Dubs need another vet. So I'm thinking of something that Iggy said last season, where it's easier to talk to guys when you are also playing.
Yes.
Because even though he has a huge track record in this league and he's very respected, unless you're sweating and sore, bumps and bruises alongside your teammates, you're not in street clothes, it is easier to level with the guy next to you.
It is. I mean, Andre is one of those guys that, he can tell you a lot of things that you can use to make yourself a better player. But the listening is only going to go so far. It won't sink in as much as it would if you see him out there doing what you're doing, playing the games and contributing to success. That hasn't happened this year. He hasn't played. We don't know when he will play. I think at some point in the coming weeks, he obviously will at some point. But until then, all he can do is dispense wisdom and hope that it sinks in. And so far, the team needs more than wisdom. They need more than wisdom. They need a sense of serenity that comes with knowing that they're playing the right way and it's paying off.
Do they need a different approach from Steve? Something a little harder, colder?
I think Steve is, he can be that way. He can be that way. I mean, Jordan is one of the guys that Steve has been tough on.
Very tough on, admittedly tough on.
Yeah. And so And that hasn't changed. But the thing he's been trying to get Jordan to do most of all is play defense. And that has still been coming and going. And so it's a battle. But I think most of what the Warriors have to fix is really, I think it's mostly with the players. I mean, they got veterans who know what they're supposed to do. If Draymond and Clay and Steph, and if those three guys play at their usual levels, we're not seeing this.
Yeah.
You know, because Clay is hitting more shots and he's taking more judicious shots, and Draymond is giving you, 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 ways to win basketball games at each end of the court. Whether he's rebounding or getting steals, blocking shots, wrecking another team's offense. He's doing all those things. And Draymond's rebounding is down this year. I mean, Steph has been their most consistent rebounder, even more so than Looney in some cases.
Yes.
It shouldn't be the case. That should not be happening.
Yeah, I don't want physically for the demands on Steph.
He let him again tonight, I think. He had 9.
Not even going to say it.
Yeah,
yes,
he had 9 rebounds tonight.
Yes.
So he led him in points and rebounds, and he's a guard.
We're going to leave it at that. Warriors back home Friday? Back in Chase Center to face the Knicks. Yeah. All right, guys, thanks for watching Dubs Talk Live. We'll see you again soon.